I think everybody in America is familiar with the term Jehovah's Witness. And for us as black folks, we know that when they come knocking on our door, we don't answer it. At least I know I don't. I just let them ring the doorbell a couple of times and then they move on to the next house. But then there's some people that have become so desperate that they feel that they are going to have to spread their rhetoric door to door as if they are a Jehovah's Witness. I'm going to play this video for you. And these are some dub S'ers right here. These dub S'ers, I like to call them. Those of you who have been following me know exactly what the code speak is. Where they have gone to this person's door and this ring device picked up on what they were trying to, I guess you can say, sell.
Can I help you?
Good afternoon. We are white nationalists, and we're going around hoping to talk to people about something white people in the United States. I hope just to have a few minutes to talk about that.
Did you say you're a white nationalist?
We're not interested, thank you.
No worries. Ma'am, do you think we could leave a flyer for you? Hey, you guys have a good day. Thanks for your time.
Okay, so you just saw this right here. It's kind of choppy. It's not on my end. That's just how choppy it is. I don't know if the video was edited to take some stuff out or if that's just how it came through because it is on a Ring device. And I don't know what it could possibly be. But you have these two guys right here who walked up to this couple's house door and said that they're white nationalists and that they wanted to talk to them about whatever the case may be. And on the other side of the door, they said they weren't interested. Now, if you listen to the tone of the couple, they definitely sound like they sound PC for sure. So we already know what type of neighborhood these two guys are going into. They know not to go into a black neighborhood with this. So they know exactly where to go. They probably left disappointed because they thought, oh, all white people are alike and they'll agree with their ideology. Truth be told, that is a huge fallacy. Not all PC people think alike. And they quickly said, we're not interested. And they said, well, can we leave a flyer? And apparently they said no or something like that because I didn't see in the video where they left the pamphlet. However, I'm going to pause this right quick because somebody did get a pamphlet left on their door. I don't know if it came from these two right here, but somebody got one that was left on their door. So I'm going to pause this right quick and I'll be right back. So here you see it right here. This is from somebody else's TikTok account. And this is the pamphlet that was left on their door, probably from the same group. And it says, "In systemic racism, be pro-white." Now, it's crazy they said in systemic racism when we know systemic racism is targeted towards mainly black people. But then they said be pro-white. That's a whole contradiction in itself. How are you going to say in systemic racism and then say be pro-white when being pro-white is what keeps this going? Wild. So here, right here is the inside of the entire pamphlet when it's opened up. And I'm going to read through this, so bear with me. And I'm going to read from the left to the right. It says, "Are you tired of being discriminated against by schools and employers while simultaneously being told that you have white privilege? Living in fear that you will lose your job because of an accusation of racism? Hearing politicians constantly talk about all they have done for blacks, Hispanics, the LGBTQ community, etc., but never what they have done for white people?" I had to take a pause on that part. Are you kidding me? Most of the politicians are PC. Most of them. And even if they have some other like non-white individuals in there, a lot of them do stuff for more for PC than they do for us. Now, I'm only speaking for black people. I can't speak for any other group. And even so, those other groups that's not us Hispanics in the LGBTQ, the academy, as I like to call it, they've done a lot for them. Hell, a lot of them have political positions. So I don't know what they're talking about. But like I said, this whole pamphlet is just delusion. It's just it's delusion on paper. Let me continue. Seeing your country's borders treated like a joke. Children being taught anti-white critical theory in school. They're not being taught that in school. You can tell this was recent. By the way, when they said critical theory, we know what they're talking about. The FBI intimidating parents who complain about critical theory at school board meetings, watching left-wing rioters burn down the country your ancestors built. Their ancestors. I didn't know that PC's ancestors built this establishment. I mean, we know that they whipped our ancestors into building this establishment, and we haven't gotten a dime for it yet. But their ancestors did, for loss of property, quote unquote. Statues of the founding fathers being torn down all across the country, being the victims of black on white crime, which the media and politicians completely ignore. Like I said, this is nothing but one big propaganda pamphlet. Becoming a minority in your own country. Our country wasn't always like this. Americans must become pro-white again. This whole thing I just read, this side right here, because I have 2 more sides to read, is the whole MAGA mantra right there in a nutshell. The second one says, end anti-white discrimination. The U.S. Supreme Court has repeatedly upheld affirmative action policies by schools and employers that discriminated against white people. Keep in mind, affirmative action was supposed to be for black people, but who benefited the most? White women. And they know that. They know that. Even if it means hiring, admitting, or promoting less qualified individuals. A new policy by NASDAQ Incorporated mandates diversity quotas on all corporate boards. This is just one example of pervasive anti-white discrimination in America. It would be more difficult to find an example on a large company that does not discriminate against whites. If y'all notice, y'all are going to notice going forward, even after this video goes up, that there's going to be a lot of PC people out there that are pushing this narrative that they're being oppressed. They've been doing this for quite some time. Like, they've been building up to this, but now they're really ramping it forward. Because see, the thing is, they already know what's going on. They know what's about to happen. Quiet as it's kept, many black people know what's going on too. They may not say it, but they know too. And I talked about this in plenty of videos. One video in particular that stands to mind is in the state of Texas. Last year, the year before, I did a video talking about how the population in the state of Texas is going to have Mexicans and Hispanics be the number one demographic in Texas. And it's crazy because when I did that video, I think this was pre-Wove, so it had to be 2019 or before. And it said in that article, and I remember that it said by 2022, that the number one demographic in the state of Texas is going to be Mexicans and Hispanics, and white people are going to fall to number 2. And then everybody else just kind of filters out, because those are the 2 biggest demographics in the state of Texas. You know, mainly because Texas is right there by the Mexican border. So it makes sense. But yeah, that's what they're scared of. That's what they're scared of in all actuality. If you're white, quote unquote diversity simply means fewer people like you. All major social media companies censor anyone who expresses pro-white views. That's a whole lot. After all, wasn't it social media that helped to propel and push what happened on January 6th? Then they joined little enclaves online to put this together, because this all did not just happen by them going around telling each other what's going on. Let's be real here. All those people that went there in January last year did not talk to each other over the phone, whether it was on the phone, through FaceTime, or text. It was through social media. That's how that word got out. So I don't know what they're talking about. As a matter of fact, a lot of the stuff that they organize nowadays is through social media. So again, I don't know what they're talking about. See, all of this really means is they are scared of losing their position. This is basically what it is. And the thing is, in this pamphlet, they're laying it out for you without really holding back. So in so many words, they're scared of losing power. This is a fear-mongering thing. It's almost like a call to, I wouldn't say it is a call to action for them, but it's almost like a begging call. This is one big woe is me thing. Remember, I just did a video talking about Ron DeSantis, or as I now call him, Ron the Snowflake, who put out this or proposed this bill to not talk about racism or whatever the case may be when it comes to white people, because it's going to make them uncomfortable. and they call us snowflakes. Imagine that. And now you have this. Like I told you, it's going to ramp up. And I think I told y'all before, there was a video I saw where this PC woman was talking about the same thing. Y'all are going to hear this happen more often than not. And there's a huge reason as to why they're doing it. The FDA recently authorized states to preference non-whites when distributing WUVIT medicine. There are ICU. I didn't even know there was WUVIT medicine. Did anyone know that there was medication for that? Because if so, I'm not sure. The only thing I hear about when it comes to that is the thing. And that's not even a medication. That's just a thing. Y'all know what I mean. There are ICU patients in hospitals who are being denied WUVIT treatment because they are white. I highly doubt that. I highly doubt that. The American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 provided relief money and loan forgiveness specifically to non-white restaurant owners and farmers. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021 required the government to preference non-white businesses for all contract work. The DOJ is obsessed with finding and punishing every single rioter from January 6, 2021, and recently created a new domestic terror unit to harass conservative white people. In contrast, the DOJ showed little interest in the deadly BLM riots of 2020 that caused countless lives and millions in property damage, or the establishment of the Chaz in Seattle, or a black nationalist car ramming attack on the U.S. Capitol that killed a police officer in April 2021. So they're upset that they're going after the people that was involved with an insurrection, or as I like to call it, an invasion on the Capitol, which is one of the biggest and major government properties in America. So they could talk about these little enclaves that happen elsewhere that had nothing to do with government property. Not saying those are any better, but look at what they're doing. They're comparing apples to oranges. It's basically, like I said, they kept talking about they don't believe white privilege is real. That whole thing that I just read right there is the fact that they feel that they should have all the privilege. Oh, we should just be able to get away with anything that we want. When they said make America great again, they are talking about going back to a point in time when they could do all of this stuff that I'm talking about or have talked about and get away with it. That's all it is. And it's not rocket science. Let's see. The message is clear. Conservative white people get treated like terrorists, while actual terrorists and criminals from BLM and Antifa are largely ignored. How about this? How about I throw you a bone and say you're all terrorists? But see, if I said that, they'd be like, no, 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 no. It's only one and it's not us. So, and by the way, I was speaking in utter sarcasm when I said throw a bone and say that they're all terrorists. But what happened on January 6th, that was some domestic terrorism. It just simply was. And it doesn't even have to be a political thing. So I don't know why they keep saying conservative and liberal. If you were there, then you would participate in a domestic terroristic style act. And I don't know why they keep saying, oh, they're not going to go after this group and they're not going to go after. How do you know that? How would you know? Because they didn't put it on the news? Y'all got, like I said, a thing. They're comparing apples to oranges. You're comparing what happened with, BLM and everything that happened at that time. I know they're talking about George Floyd. Versus thousands of people going to the Capitol in January, on a cold day in January, 6 days into the new year, last year, and running up into a government building, putting your feet up on desks, breaking windows, taking pictures. People were killed, climbing the walls, leaving fecal matter all over the place, and a whole bunch of other things that I can't even think of right now that were just utterly disgusting and trifling. You want to know why you stayed in the news for a whole year and some change, and why y'all are still getting charged even still to this day? Because it was a big deal and the whole world saw it. So to compare that to what they're trying to compare it to try to make it seem like it's some kind of equal footing, that's ridiculous. Now, the last part says stop the great replacement. Now, I can't read some of this part because this person's icon is here and the comment and the like thing is covering this. So I'm gonna have to read around it. It says stop the great replacement. In 1960, the United States was 85.4% white. Today, the United States is less than 57.8% white. That is not our problem. When whites in the U.S. will become a minority by 2045. Well, at least they read that National Geographic article or magazine that came out a few years ago. I think that magazine is like over a decade old now. Among school-aged children, whites are already a minority. White Americans have been steadily replaced by non-whites since the 1965 Immigration Act, which opened America's doors to the whole world. Democratic politicians benefit from this because more non-whites means more voters for them. Republican politicians benefit because it provides cheap labor for their donors. I'm glad they threw that part in there because I was about to say, it doesn't just benefit the Democrats, it benefits the Republicans as well. Decades of unsustainable immigration, and like I said, sorry I have to read around this because the icon is blocking it. A house to soar and wages to plummet. I guess it says plummet. Decreases social trust and cohesion. Forgive me for being broken up. Like I said, the icon is in the way. It says the American way of life without enough white people that know and love will become unrecognizable. Non-whites immigrate here for purely economic reasons. It says approve this country because of what it can do for them. They do not love America like white people do. So I guess in America, in their head, in order, see, this goes back to the whole fake patriot terminology I came up with a few years ago. I haven't used it in a while, but I need to use it here. So in order for you to love America unconditionally and undeniably, you have to be PC. Listen to what it said. It says non-whites immigrate here for purely for economic reasons. It says something this. I guess the reasons they love this country because of what it can do for them. They do not love America like white people do. So in order to be the most patriotic red, white, and blue person, probably going to every 4th of July function, but probably can't even recite the preamble or name all the presidents from beginning to current. They love America. White people love America more than anybody else. Okay, if you say so. It takes more to love in America than yelling America and singing the national anthem in America the Beautiful. I'm just saying. Their hearts do not swell with pride when they hear the national anthem. I realize I just said the national anthem. Swell with pride when they hear the national anthem or see Old Glory fluttering in the wind. Are y'all hearing this? This thing is a joke. This whole pamphlet is a joke. But okay. Non-whites celebrate their own cultures. They do not assimilate into ours. They said non-whites celebrate their own cultures. Why wouldn't we celebrate our own cultures? We know, and I'm only speaking for Black Americans, FBA. We know that we are American, but here's the thing. We could never truly assimilate into a quote-unquote American culture because you would not allow us to do so. Remember, 3/5 of a human being? Remember what Mitch McConnell recently said, Freudian slip or not, when he said Americans and then he separated it and said African Americans when it came to voting? That's what we're talking about. We were never allowed to, quote-unquote, assimilate truly into the fabric of America. And truthfully, to be honest, we don't want it. Because we see how this system is to us and to its own. Let's not sit here and pretend that PC does not eat their own. That's one thing Black people, we got to get out the habit of, is saying other cultures don't do this or white people don't. Yes, they do. But when it comes to from within, then it's becoming a class thing. That's why I hate when they try to bring classism and try to mesh it with racism. No, racism is the oppression of another race from another group. Classism could be within, but it's like a have versus the have-nots type of situation. And they have a lot of that going on there. The only time they really band together is when they're coming at us. But after that, after the damage is done with that, they go back their separate ways and they go back to the infighting, whether you see it or hear about it or not. It says they identify as members of their race first and Americans second. Doesn't that sound like they've been listening to us? Because, you know, we like to say B1. Doesn't that sound like they've been listening and to us? I wouldn't be surprised if they had been listening and they might have been chiming in, because, they like to troll heavy. If at all they come here to take our country I'm guessing that's from us, and form it into something that better suits them. I can't understand what that last word is saying. It says, great replacement. White Americans deserve a government that represents us. Currently, our government is doing their best to replace us with immigration. Now, they're talking about immigration, but I had to insert us in there somewhere. But they're talking about the immigrants at this point. But we know that could be related to us minus the immigrant part. There is unprecedented lawlessness I'm guessing at the something with Mexico. Hispanics from all across Central and South America are invading in record numbers. Thousands of blacks from Haiti have shown up at the border as well, bringing exotic diseases. Now, this is very recent because they're talking about when they came across the border a couple months ago. When they mentioned Haiti, they said bringing exotic diseases that had previously been eradicated in America. This is the result of President Biden's deliberate refusal to protect our border. The Biden administration brought our something to America. They have committed numerous, I can't understand it, even though most of them haven't even been, like I said, bear with me as I read this because the icons are covering up these words. It says bases yet. A female U.S. Army soldier at Fort, I'm not sure what base that is, was violated by Afghans within 1 month of them being brought here. I know what they're talking about because I talked about that like back in September. Being brought here. The U.S. government is failing in the most basic function any government to protect its own people from foreigners. And I think it might be some stuff on the back, but I don't think that I have the other screenshot for that. But after going through this and being on here talking for over 22 minutes now with this, y'all see how ridiculous this is. They are scared to death. I'm going to say that again. They are scared to death of what's about to happen with them. Or not even so much what's about to happen, what is happening. And the thing is, they can't stop it. They're so used to having all the power and all the attention and everything about them and only them. But now that it's not about them anymore, now it's a cause for alarm. When everything else is affecting everyone else, then it's okay. But when it starts to affect them, then it's time to sound the alarm and alert the troops. But this is a fear thing. They are in fear. Nothing that they really said in this whole pamphlet made a lick of sense, especially in the first two columns. This one and this one. My God, this was like mental gymnastics right here. These two right here. And about a good chunk of this. Because right here, this is basically their entry. Then they said anti-white discrimination, even though there is no such thing. And it says stop the great replacement. When I saw this, I already knew they were going to talk about immigration. But I'm sure they are for it when it benefits them. See, that's the thing. That's that double speak. They hate it when it doesn't benefit them, but they love it when it does. And right now, they hate it because it cannot benefit them. There is no love there right now. And that 2045 part is what really, if not pisses them off or not scares them, I should say, it definitely pisses them off. But hey, it is what it is. You can't stop a runaway train. It's just going to have to crash and burn, just like this system has to. Again, they said in the previous one, in systemic racism, become pro-white, even though being pro-white is what aids and feeds into systemic racism. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. I cannot wait to see what y'all have to say. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you are new, hit that notification bell to receive all notifications every time I upload a new video or go live. And I will talk to you in the next one.